A local murder trial is nearing its end. Today, one of the final witnesses, the accused murderer herself, took the stand.
Yeah, Miriam Helmick is accused of shooting her husband Alan Helmick in the head in their Whitewater home. That was back in June of 2008. 11 News reporter Kiara Tirza was in the courtroom. She joins us now live in the studio with the latest details. Kiara.
Yeah, Jean and Glenn, as promised by the defense in opening arguments, Miriam Helmick took the stand today to tell the jury how she met Alan, their relationship together, and how she found him the day of his murder, cold and gray, on their kitchen floor.
The defense calls Miriam Helmick to the stand.
Accused murderer Miriam Helmick said the black wedding dress was the only one she could find with roses on it. In her careful testimony, she cried at times, remembering how Alan had called her his wild rose, how the two met, the romance that sparked, and the life they so enjoyed together.
If he'd had one day or 1 week or 1 month with me, that he felt blessed to have been with me at all.
Love progressed quickly. Within 3 weeks, Miriam moved in. The picture of marital bliss, they took trips, opened a business, and between the two of them, all was well.
Did their relationship end on good terms? Or?
No, it was very angry.
But she talked about a coworker Alan had an argument and a falling out with over money. She also answered questions about Alan's checks, made out in her handwriting.
Did you ever fill out any of your husband's checks?
Yes.
And why did you do this?
Because he asked me to.
She said the same went for phone calls. She only answered his phone at his request.
Did you take phone messages for Alan?
Yes.
Did you return calls for Alan?
When he asked me to.
And said she didn't check on if he returned calls or not. Miriam confirmed her alibis for the day of Alan's murder, where she went, what she did, and broke down telling of finding him dead.
I saw Alan on the floor.
Okay. Where was he?
On the floor near the back door.
Miriam described him as cold and gray. She says she attempted CPR, but she knew it was too late.
He didn't have a pulse. And like I said, he was cold and he looked really gray skin.
Miriam told the jury she tried to perform CPR on Alan but wasn't sure her CPR was very effective because she was recovering from a shoulder injury and couldn't press on his chest very hard. She also admitted to placing the fake threatening greeting card under her friend's doorstep, saying she thought police might listen to her friends since she didn't feel they were listening to her. She said she was sorry and that it was a mistake. Jean and Glenn.
All right, thanks a lot. It's Kiara Tirza reporting live in the studio for us tonight.
Good morning. We are here on case number 08CR17.
Judge Robeson called to order the case of the people versus Miriam Helmick. And with the jury quickly briefed on procedures and proceedings, Chief Deputy District Attorney Tammy Arrett was called for opening arguments.
Good morning.
Arrett presented an hour and 15 minutes of fierce presentation. She started with the past, Alan's first wife who died, and his vulnerability when he soon after married Miriam.
And the only thing more vulnerable than loneliness is greed.
The prosecution presented Miriam as a woman who took control over Alan's life.
Every trait he held dear deteriorated.
They said Miriam hoarded his cell phone, kept him from communicating with his family, and buried his bills in her office. But all the while, Miriam had it made.
He spent thousands of dollars on what she wanted.
But the defense fired back in a softer tone.
Belief in Miriam Helmick's guilt was obvious from day one.
Defense attorney Jody McGurk told the jury Miriam never even had a good shot at a fair investigation and that she was viewed as a suspect from the start.
Question over and over again. What did you do that day? What are Alan's finances like?
The defense took back one of the angles the prosecution had made pretty watertight, the greeting card. Miriam had claimed she'd found it, but law enforcement had video of her buying it.
And she comes up with a horrible idea.
But with a twist, the defense admitted it was a hoax, but said it was instead a desperate way for Miriam to get investigators off of her back.
She's hoping that this will get law enforcement to look for the person who killed her husband, to stop focusing on her.
In Grand Junction, Kiara Tirza, KKCO 11 News. This was the scene at the end of the school day yesterday. Concerned parents huddling around, waiting to see their children as Grand Junction police officers hunt for a man with a gun.
You come up here, you drive up here to see where your kids are at, and all you see are cop cars all around with guys with guns. I mean, you can imagine what goes through a parent's mind at that point.
Grandmother Cindy Dingman was volunteering at the school when it went on lockdown and says there was too little information coming in or going out of the school, especially for parents waiting at home.
Their kids don't show up, you don't know where they're at, you couldn't get anybody at the school.
District 51 Safety Coordinator Tim Leon says the school district is aware of the communication problem.
Currently, we don't have a really good system in place, to be honest with you. We've known that's been a shortcoming.
He says the district is working to team up with the city to get on their reverse 911 system called Everbridge, but the district is not set up to use it yet.
That would have been a perfect opportunity for us to use that system.
With no systems in place, Leon says there was no way to notify parents, but says soon there will be. But the concerns of yesterday are still weighing on grandmother Cindy.
It's scary as a parent when your child is supposed to be home at a certain time and they don't come home.
She says the district needed to think about what this situation was like for parents, especially those who were waiting at home.
They missed their bus, if they tried walking, if somebody took them. I mean, just all kinds of things go through your head at that point. You don't know.
Mothers and young babies, grandparents and small grandchildren, all willing to wait out in the wind and cold for hours just to get a shot at the latest H1N1 flu vaccine.
Almost 2 hours? About 2 hours?
For 2 hours now.
Bundled in coats, hats, hoods, even towels, anything they had to keep warm.
It's not the best environment for small children.
Cold. It's freezing, so.
Pregnant mom Chelsea Krause was there to get herself and her 2 asthmatic children vaccinated. She says the conditions are worth it.
It's worth waiting because we don't want to get sick, so.
Health department officials say they expected a crowd, with more people now able to get the vaccine, and say the turnout says a lot about overall demand.
I think people want the vaccine. I think this population is used to being vaccinated. They know it's important to be vaccinated. And in addition to that, we've had a lot of activity and school closures. And so I think that's also driving the need for the vaccine.
Okay, good job.
But the turnout was so great, the golden vaccine tickets ran out less than 2.5 hours into the clinic. Which worries grandmother Deborah, whose daughter was diagnosed with swine flu yesterday and is trying desperately to keep the rest of her family from getting sick.
I've just had surgery for breast cancer, and I start radiation today. My husband's diabetic, so there's not enough vaccinations to go around. That is a big concern to me.
Health department officials expect to get another shipment of H1N1 vaccines next week. But what type, Mr. Injectable, and how many doses is still unknown.
It's really too soon to know what next week brings.
In Grand Junction, Kiara Lotirzo, KKCO 11 News.